Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called They Vanished, written by FarmWitch4275. One day they were here, the next day they were gone. Humanity, as ever-present a threat to the rest of the 9 kingdoms, suddenly, inexplicably vanished. Ever since then, the balance of power shifted to an even greater fear. What if we were next? The Treaty of Veridus was the first hint something was going on in the human kingdoms. Something big. During a war, one of but very many, a human ambassador arrived and delivered a missive. It was a simple paper that said, "We, humanity, are abandoning all conquests and ceding them to you, on the condition that you no longer seek us. We wish only to be alone. We will defend our borders to the absolute last, should you aggress further. We simply wish to be left alone, as we have always done." Humanity, as always, fought tooth and nail, often catching others by surprise with their sheer staggering tenacity, merciless hatred, and capacity for violence. Stalemates and half-victories decided by brilliant tactical maneuvers or sheer horrific brutality. Tired of a century of conflict, with the tide of battle always coming into tie or a Pyrrhic victory, every kingdom signed that missive. Humanity's kingdoms closed all borders, exiled all non-humans that did not have a human spouse or family member, and ceded territory won during the wars. After that, humanity went dead silent. No more messengers, no scholars seeking knowledge, no traders peddling goods. Nothing. It was a year after the treaty was signed did we finally get an answer. A band of adventurers, dungeoneers, and trailblazers walked towards a human town after a long day of adventuring. A mixed bag of 7 fine young men using their skills in warfare to earn a living fighting what armies wouldn't bother to do. Witches, beasts, rabid animals, and the occasional monster. Trivial, but good paying. At the edge of the forest, they encountered a human settlement, a small town on the edge of the human kingdom's territory. Humans are well known for the care they bestow on adventurers or problem solvers, and surmised that a bounty may be available for some of the kills that they had scored along the way, along with some place to sell their collected trinkets, potions, ingredients, and loot. Ragthal, the dwarf Keshin, a mountain elf Oregon, the forest elf Mon and Vaughn, twin orcs Ren, a Minotaurian beastman, finally Utanji, a snakeman. They approached and noticed immediately no smoke rising from the chimneys. Several houses burnt down. They entered the town and were met with nothing but silence. Moldy bowls of food left rotting on tables. A few houses burned down due to having fires that were never put out, or some houses that began to overgrow. Coin purses and secret savings stashed left untouched. Toys left on the ground and crops left to rot. Fields unsown. No corpses or signs of battle. No skeletons. No blood. No graves. It was as if every man, woman, and child simply dropped what they were doing and vanished. The group stood bewildered. The group looked around carefully. The elves' perfect vision looking for clues, while the beastmen sniffed around for any evidence. Nothing but silence. Perhaps this was a village attacked by raiders during the war. It was evacuated and forgotten. Regardless, it was still an unnatural sight. So they simply pressed on, looking towards a nearby city a few days away. 2 days' travel, and more signs of empty nothingness met them. The city gates were unbarred, unguarded, a city of thousands, completely devoid of everyone and everything. Now the group of adventurers was starting to panic. Where the hell was everyone? House to house, room to room, not a single man, woman, or child anywhere to be found. The city in the same state as the village. Every soul simply stood up and buggered off. Personal keepsakes such as family heirlooms or precious pieces of homeware, gone. Furniture remained rotting in the exact place it was left behind. Humanity's temples to the gods filled with nothing but debris from broken windows and fallen leaves. Was it like this everywhere? They all gathered in the temple and uttered a short prayer, begging the gods that it wasn't like this everywhere. Where Were the humans gone? Did the gods finally grow tired of them and vanish them from the earth? Did a rogue wizard or dark sorcerer cast a spell of evil so great that humanity disappeared itself to avoid it? What could have caused the most stubborn bastards in all of eternity to suddenly just get up and walk away? Were we next? The situation demanded investigation. The elves acted first and sent messenger birds to their respective kingdoms calling for aid. If anyone was still alive, they likely needed help. After sending the messengers, they made haste to a nearby mountain elf kingdom. They were closest and could respond faster. Within a week, a full army of thousands marched into humanity's front doorstep. After 30 days of the first discovery, a wave of shock and awe shattered the tenacious peace of the 9 kingdoms. Humanity was just plain gone. Investigations were launched and found only one clue: residual spiritual energy left behind by all living things, all pointed to one location: Mount Monolith, a massive volcano that dominated the center point of human lands. Fearing whatever caused the sudden vanishing, no kingdom laid claim to any of the cities or towns. Even mines were left behind. The only people who entered or saw them were the scholars who came to investigate, or the soldiers that protected them. The very adventurers who first discovered the scenario were the very same sent to follow the trail left behind by the spiritual residue. The 7 adventurers followed this trail for 9 days, finally coming to an entrance of a large cavern. By this point, there were so many footprints that even a year after the race had vanished, they were still visible in the rocky footpaths leading into it. At first, it was just an ordinary cave. The stench of damp, no sunlight, the usual cave stuff. Then suddenly changed. The walls and floor transitioned from weathered stone to mirror-smooth metal. Rounded natural rock forces giving way to unnatural, perfectly square metallic sheen. Strange tubes of light spread across the entire cave length, perfectly lighting the whole place. It was simplistic, utilitarian. No doors, no nothing. Just a straight corridor with arrows pointing on the walls leading to the middle of the mountain. At the end of this corridor sat a large door. It took a desperate and great effort to open it, but eventually the gargantuan door relented. It opened to a stairway, a truly gargantuan stairway, carved straight into the rock of the mountain, leading straight up. 10,000 steps, wide enough to carry a battalion of men spiraling around a central pillar, straight up. The strange tube lights following the stairs, perfectly lighting the way. As they stepped on the stairs, a voice suddenly made itself known. "Children of humanity, hear me!" The voice of a human, distorted, unnatural, as if it were from a man wearing a mask that made his voice echo. "You have been lied to. This place is not your true home. It is not your destiny. I have come to reclaim you, rescue you from this miserable squalor and end your suffering on this planet. I do so at no cost. I offer you this choice to rejoin mankind in the heavens, the great void, our rightful place in the universe. I invite you to experience the rebirth of an empire that spanned all that we have ever known. I offer you a chance to rejoin your wayward brethren and reclaim the Dominion's place in the galaxy." What was he talking about? What in Igus's name was this place? What was this Dominion? What was the void? The adventurers, terrified of the circumstances, but contracted to continue, pressed on further up the stairway, eventually finding themselves in a sort of atrium. This room had many artifacts upon pedestals, strange, ghostly visages of human men and women in various garb, images of stars up close and worlds circling them. Strange metallic beasts called the starships floated quietly in what was presumed to be the void. A gallery of everything laid bare. Many cycles ago, the great empire known as the Dominion once had monopoly over the galaxy. A great empire of 1 billion worlds, 1 million of fleets, of all different metal, but a single purpose. A great calamity once rocked this empire, and we had been beaten down by an enemy we never understood, or couldn't even fight against. So we hid behind the veil, abandoned our secrets and hid from their gaze. we rose up from these ashes and rendered unto these enemies a terrible vengeance, such that generations as yet unborn would cry out in anguish. We are free of the tyrants that so mercilessly took us from our homes, broke our unity, and made us forget who we truly were. And now I offer you the chance to rejoin the empire that now stands to reclaim its powers again. Rejoin us in the Dominion. Reclaim your rightful place as the galaxy's emperors. Together, victory, together, to the void. That taunting, hollow-sound voice haunted them through the long climb, until finally they entered an entryway onto a flat platform, literally carved into the mountaintop. The entire place, flattened perfectly, exposed to the slowly darkening skies of Ilaria. The entire Legion could step up and camp in this place. It was so large. After clearing scattered snow, they could clearly see the symbols etched onto the ground right in the middle. It was a simple H. Suddenly, in the middle of the H, an image appeared, a ghost of a man, unnatural, broken, covered in heavy metal armor. His arms skeletal and metal of make, his face obscured by a mask of leather and steel. Images of various things appeared as he spoke to them. Moving images flashed through the air, as if the adventurers were looking at the events in person. It was then the voice returned. Today we offer you a final chance, a final choice. Abandon this rock and take your place as true Voidborn. What have you to lose? Long have you suffered the slings and arrows of the other races on this forsaken rock. And for what? The elves and their arrogance. How many lives have been lost because of their selfishness? How many children have they murdered due to that sense of bastard superiority? Keshin and Oregon scoffed at first, then came to a startling realization. Their brethren murdered children. The image projected in front of them showed the evidence that they thought should have never been real. An elf legion during the first stages of a prior war, charging their way through a farming village, screaming of infants and women heard over the sounds of slashing swords. Their hearts sank as the first glimpses of tiny hands covered in blood flashed before their eyes. And the dwarves! How many times have you been slighted for their crafts, or banned from their trades due to their sense of greed for their crafts? How many times have you lost everything you have worked so hard for because a dwarf decides yours wasn't good enough and thrown it all into a furnace? Images of dwarf blacksmiths laughing as he takes the contents of a human's weapons merchant and throws it into a furnace. His brothers holding the human back as he destroys months of work. An arrogant display as he crops a small dagger and claims it to be superior, that is worth the entire merchant stock. Ragthor bows his head in shame, fully aware of the amount of work that goes into any tool is one that should never been so callously cast aside. Those bastard orcs are no better. How much misery and war have they brought? How many towns and farms have they burned to the ground and ransomed just for entertainment? Or simply because they had nothing better to do? How many of your family members did they slaughter? Images of orc raiding parties followed, taking Marn and Varn by shock and forcing them both into a state of shame. Images uncensored. Human women being repeatedly violated in front of their broken and beaten husbands. Parents being beaten and tortured in front of their children. Lifetimes of work, savings, and monies being callously taken and never seen again, as fields and homes are set on fire, only resulting in the inevitable retaliation that sees hundreds of men and orcs slaughtered on a battlefield. The beastmen are no better. The snake men treat you like ornate cattle, and the beastmen tribes use you as proxies to fight their own pitiful conflicts. How many times have the snake men raided villages for slaves? How many times have the beastmen used humans as their tools or an excuse for war? How many times? Images of towns being invaded by the snakemen flashed in front of Untanji's eyes as a deep-seated rage overcame him, watching his brethren beat men, women, and children into submission after chaining them up. The dark horrors unleashed by the images of human men and women and children being eaten by various beast tribes, violated in unspeakable ways by others, and used as sport for hunting or as proxies to wage wars. And even through all of this, you still held your heads high and helped them in times of crisis. What was your reward? To be spat in the face and mocked or enslaved? Images of various disasters and tribulations flashed before their eyes. A drought that humanity sent stocks of food to alleviate. We responded by burning their fields a season later. An earthquake that shook the Orc lands. The humans helped rebuild. The Orcs responded by massacring 2 villages. A dark plague that humanity suffered just as much as we all did, but found a cure and gave it to us freely. We responded by blaming them for unleashing it and attacked. I will offer no retaliation for this. We simply leave. They want this wretched land. They can have it. We have millions of worlds we can call home. All of them void of elves, beastmen, or the raiding parasites of the orcish hordes. No gods, no kings, only us. And the void. Stand up from your beds. Stand up from your tables and join us. When the bastard races of this broken world finally overcome their natures, we will welcome them with open arms. Until then, we shall simply leave them here to rot. Terra Victoriam! The ghostly images disappeared. By now, night had fallen, and the height of the mountain had given way to the perfect clear, starry sky. And there, in all of its glory, floating gently in the void beyond anyone's reach, was a ship, a starship, in perfect view directly above. A dark shadow cast on the ground as it moved through the heavens above. A ghostly image appeared, obscuring the view once again. This one looked directly at them. It spoke in the same bellowing, unnatural voice. We have learned to overcome our natures, to be charitable in times of war. We heal the soldiers, we wound after the battle, to never kill a child of any race, regardless of the consequences. Not once in 1,000 years has any human killed or harmed a child of any race. To punish criminals with fairness. You have murdered human children for the crime of stealing loaves of bread. Humans do not take slaves. You use humans as slaves. We have never done to you what you have always done to us. The group hanged their heads in shame and disgust. When you learn to overcome your nature, we will be waiting. When you understand the true meaning of honor, loyalty, and justice, when you understand the true value of blood, sweat, and tears, we will be waiting. Because, unlike you, we know how to forgive. The massive metal beast in the skies suddenly vanished. End of story. I would quickly like to thank our Tier 5 patrons, Dragzoon WRE, Quantum Wednesday, Ambrose Cattell, Lord Ashrakal, Bushmaster 177, Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, and Arcadian. Thank you very much.